Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our first podcast in English with Asia Shamsuddin and myself, Rasha Al-Amin. We will be talking about the ego today. But before we start, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video so that more viewers will be seeing it. Hi, Asia. How are you today?
Hi, Rasha. I'm fine. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to talk about a very hot topic, which is saboteurs or sabotage and the ego. So I'm going to talk about the sabotage and Rasha's going to talk about the ego. And please watch us till the end of the podcast because we're going to give tips, examples, and it's going to be really an interesting podcast.
So let's start with you, Asia. Please, can you put us into the world of sabotage? Give us this great, insight that you have about it with your experience, of course, as a professional coactive life coach.
We are all already in the world of sabotage. So let me first talk about the game of our mind, because our mind plays double role, our worst enemy or our very good friend. How? It depends on how it serves us. So we're not going to talk about it when it's our best friend. We're going to talk about it when it is our worst enemy, because this is when the saboteurs are formed, and it's in the survival brain region, which is part of our left brain. So how are they formed? These saboteurs are false beliefs or false thoughts or critical beliefs that our mind starts to form when we face certain circumstances or a situation, or we deal with people to protect itself and to handle these events. And it makes us feel that this is the only way to protect ourselves. And these saboteurs are formed in this survival region since our childhood most of the time. And they are with us till we are adults and maybe till the end of our current life, because they live with us and they form a false self till the point that we identify with them and we think, oh, this is us. And we think they are the engine of our achievements. Maybe I will give an example here, an experience from my client, a dear client, and I took her permission to talk about it today. So she's really a great woman and a great achiever in her life. She works in a very good company and she has a high position as a senior project manager. And she came to me because she lacked balance in her life. And whatever she achieved, she never felt satisfied or fulfilled. And of course, that was the main big topic. And we dig deeper in our sessions till we grab the saboteur, one of the saboteurs, because we have many saboteurs formed depending on the situations. One of her biggest saboteurs was formed when she was a child. She had a brother, and her parents were always comparing her to her brother and making her believe that she can never be equal with a man, that a brother is better than a girl, and that she needs to work hard to achieve. And because our parents are our heroes, and when we are children, we look at them, we want them to look at us in the best picture. She couldn't blame them. Her brain started to form these thoughts about herself, making her feel guilty about herself, that she's a girl. She's not enough. She needs to work hard in her life. She needs to achieve. She will never be equal. You will never be equal to a man. These thoughts, they defined her choices in life, the choices of her marriage. She had a divorce 2 times. The choices of her work. She became a hyperachiever because she needed to achieve, to prove, and to feel fulfilled and enough. And whatever she achieved, she didn't achieve that fulfillment
Inner
because
satisfaction. She didn't feel
the
innerly
inner,
satisfied.
yeah, the inner satisfaction, because the core problem, the
Yeah.
core of the problem was the sabotage and her childhood.
So I'd like to ask you here, Asia, why do you still call it a saboteur, while the saboteur has motivated her to make some great achievements?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And that's also part of their tricks. The tricks
Yeah.
of the saboteurs is to make us think and believe that, remember, that they are the ones behind our achievements, our safety, our protections. And of course, they had a little part, but it was with concessions, with frustration, with stress, with not having balance in her life, with not feeling enough. So imagine that she achieved what she have achieved now with her creativity, with her belief in her potential, in her powers, in what she is, that she believed that she is equal to the man, that she believed that she can do that. She would have maybe achieved a higher position, and a position that is aligned to her values, aligned with her values, with her core values, with her purpose in life, and she would have moved forward with integrity. Let me continue with this, like an example about that, how we believe that our sabotage is, our saboteurs are the ones that are behind our success, is one of
Yeah.
my clients also during the pandemic. She came to me claiming that she cannot achieve anything now because she's not under stress, and that
Really?
stress is needed.
This is
Yes,
interesting. Like, yeah.
she needed,
Okay.
yeah, she needed stress to, I missed my stress, she told me, and
Yeah.
stress, my stress, I missed it. I'm not being able to do my presentations now. That was a role of her saboteurs. And when I connected her to her inner leader and to her power, and what does she love in her presentation? Why is she doing the presentation? Why is she working? Why is
Yeah.
she having this job? What? And then this made her go forward with the presentations and with her everyday
Nice.
tasks without having the stress needed. And let's start with the ego now. I'm so curious.
Yeah, well, it has another description. They call it the shadow self also. And it's an entity that is widely unrecognized by most people. Yeah. Nobody really, we're welcomed into this world with nice parents, loving parents, but no one tells us, like, come on, my child, let me tell you, of what are you made of. Let me tell you that you have, it's true, you have a body, you see your body, but I need to let you know that you have also a soul, an ego, and a spirit that really surrounds everything around you. We need to understand the anatomy of our spirit. I mean, what are we made of in the first place? Before talking about the different entities, like the ego, the soul, the spirit, we need to really just give a general outlook about what are we made of. We are a spirit, and we have a soul, we have an ego, and the body is in the middle of all of this. The body is the, like you said, it's the engine that is translating the frequencies of all these entities, especially the
Very
frequency
nice.
of the ego and the soul. The spirit is
Yeah.
the entity that encompasses all these, they are her children. Even the ego is the child of the spirit, because the ego comes with us ever since we are born in order to help us ground ourselves in this body. One of the great teachers of our times, Eckhart Tolle, says that without an ego, we will be flying. Like he himself, he says his ego is very dim. He has diminished his ego to the max, but he cannot be without an ego completely, because he needs to move into the world. His body needs to be down to earth. But from my own spiritual experience, that has shown me a lot of things related to the several aspects of our anatomy, spiritual anatomy. I've had lots of experiences that made me understand what we are made from. I really can say that the first thing towards salvation is to understand what is the ego and to start really facing our egos. So we need to understand that we have two main entities that govern our emotions and mental processes. It's the soul and the ego. The heart is the link between them. The heart and the mind are the tools for the soul and the ego.
Beautiful.
Most of the time, the ego is controlling the mental processes, and most of the time, it's the soul who governs the heart processes. And when we are compelled to feel something strong towards a situation or a person, let's say positive feelings, they come from the heart, they come from the soul, not from the ego. It's impossible that the ego emits any kind of loving frequency. The ego is an entity that is always negative, that is always manipulating us, even through certain positive tricks, into doing and achieving what she wants us to achieve. Like you said, the example that you gave of your client, she achieved something that is supposedly positive in the world. I mean, she did great achievements, but her soul wasn't happy, wasn't satisfied, because she wasn't attuned to her bigger purpose. I would love to give a bit more a clearer description of that on the board, so that we can see the anatomy of our constitution to start with. So let's move to the board.
Yes, I'm so excited to see the board and this description.
So this is a graph that shows the basic anatomy of our being. Our whole being is made of several elements. One element is visible and the three others are invisible. Why? Simply because the body vibrates at a frequency that is within our range of perception, okay? Biologically and chemically speaking. I mean, when we study the optics, the science of optics, we know that there are several things that we cannot see, but that are existing, like the Wi-Fi, like electromagnetic fields, etc. It goes the same with the entities that are within us that we don't see, which are the ego, the soul, and the spirit. Now, the ego is the entity that vibrates at the invisible entity that vibrates at the lower or the lowest frequency, lowest than the soul, of course. The ego, the soul are the children of the spirit, okay? The ego vibrates at a frequency that is close to the frequency of the root chakra. We all know that we have 7 chakras: the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, which is at the top of the stomach. Then we have the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye, and the crown chakra. The soul is the entity, I mean, it is, when we speak of spirit, it is basically about the soul. It's not about the spirit, because the spirit, the mother of all, the mother of the body, the mother of the soul and the ego, does not fully incarnate in the body. That's why the space of the spirit is the aura. That's why we have an aura. The aura is the extension of the spirit outside the body, which proves that the spirit exists basically and mostly outside the body. Its roots are within the body through the soul, not through the ego. Okay, I will develop all these matters in future videos because we have to stop on the station of the ego now, leaving the soul and the spirit for other videos. Now, I will just mention that the soul vibrates usually at the frequency of the heart, and that's why most people, when they die, they feel their soul. I mean, we hear that the soul leaves the body through the heart. Okay, the ego has a momentum. It is known that it has a momentum, the same momentum of the body. What do I mean by that? When we come down into a body, when we incarnate into a body, the body has already its destiny written. It has a momentum. It has already, let's say, programmed battery within it. So what is fixed is the date of our birth and the date of our death. And what is between them is open to many changes. But I will go back just to this concept. Speaking of momentum, the momentum of the ego, I was saying that the momentum of the ego has the same momentum of the body. What does it mean? It means that once the body comes to life, we are born into this world, okay? We live a life that spans, let's say, expand into like 80 years on average. The battery that we had originally had the momentum of 80 years, and once we die, the ego drops as well. What we take with us are the lessons, and the soul has the ability to collect all the lessons and memories and experiences and take them with her to the other dimension. So what happens with the ego, this is the ego that is within the body, okay? As much as the body becomes close to death, the ego also, the more people approach the end of their lives, we feel that they are lighter, more gentle, let's say, more loving. Most people, not all people, of course, because their ego starts to drop. Okay, that is a basic rule. Of course, there are many exceptions to everything. I want to just mention something here related to what is happening sadly, of course, during the pandemic, that many people are dying at a young age. Let's say somebody has died at the age of 45 or 50. It is already written that this person will die at this age, whether of corona or any other thing. The momentum of their body has been already programmed that it will leave this earth at that age. Okay, I will elaborate, of course, this matter in another time. Now, going back to this scheme or this graph, I will place it a little bit on the full screen just for you to see the different characteristics of the chakras. And the ego is very, very, very important to understand at first before we go into the process of evolution of the ego. We will tackle this matter in the next video, how the ego becomes the shadow self and it overshadows the soul. And in certain people, I mean, their soul becomes like really in the backstage. it practically becomes without any role, because they become so heartless, so they lack emotions and compassion to the extent that their connection with their soul has been diminished to a certain very low level. So one last thing about the soul is that the soul is the governor of the heart. It has usually the frequency of the heart, but because the ego is very tricky and highly manipulative, it is really trying to manipulate the soul by dragging it down to its level, which is below. So the soul is normally stuck between the first three chakras. That's why most people they feel their emotions within their stomach area. I mean, the sacral and the solar plexus. Usually, most feelings must be felt at the heart chakra. Even fear should be felt here. Love, of course, should be felt from the heart and upwards, not downwards. This is the normal. But because most people are really manipulated by their own egos, the thing is that they are suffering because they're not attuned to the frequency of their heart. And this is what we call awakening to our own truth, which is the frequency of the soul, of the heart. I will stop here with the hopes that in the future and in the upcoming videos I will be able to elaborate much more those matters. So what did you think, Asya, so far?
Very well explained. And yeah, this is a new insight.
So Asya, what kind of tip can you give people regarding the saboteur and how to recognize it?
Yes, I will give one tip for today, which is the most common tip we need to give in the beginning is to name your saboteur. So give it a name. Like I have a name for my saboteur is I cannot tell it now because it's a very nasty name. When it comes, you here. I watch you. I know you're here. So name your saboteur.
Okay.
And when you name it, after that, till our next podcast, I would like you to list every day your negative thoughts. And you will realize the repeated thoughts every day that are ruling your mind, that are creating your mindset. And once you notice that, then you put them in the category of your saboteur, and you know it's the voice of your saboteur, and you just find a way to kick your saboteur out, like shh, you're here, shh, or I'm
You shush
gonna,
them
I don't
down.
know, or you can just burn the paper. Just find a way for you to diminish those negative thoughts in your head. Why do we name our saboteur, Rasha? Because we need to personalize it, so we can just bring him to the awareness, not to
Exactly.
make it live in the subconscious and make it live in the shadow. We're bringing it to the light. Hey, okay, I know this thought. I'm watching you. I'm
I
watching those
see
negative
you.
thoughts.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
see you. Go. I'm not going to listen to you. And that's how we
Yeah,
master our mind.
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
I want to repeat, they control our mind. They form this mindset since our childhood to control us, making us believe that we're surviving with them. We don't need them now. We have so many in us, so many powers in us as human beings. We are born awesome, unique, and special. Let's move forward from this perspective.
Well, for next time, I will be talking about how the ego transforms with time, of course, while growing up and under the effect of the conditioning, the social and the upbringing of the family, etc., how the ego becomes the shadow self. It overshadows our whole being. Our sense of self is overshadowed by the ego. I will explain that next time. What about you, Asya?
I'm gonna list the 9 saboteurs that we have, because we have 9 main saboteurs. We have one which is common to all of us, which is the judge. So I'm gonna just introduce you to the different saboteurs, because every one of us has the judge as main saboteur and has 2 different other sub-saboteurs that has developed throughout the years. Depends on your circumstances, situations, on your parents, on your childhood. And then I'm going to talk about your positive intelligence brain. How would you strengthen this part of your brain to diminish the powers of your saboteurs by empowering this part of your brain, empowering the muscles there of your creativity, of your empathy, and many other things. So that's what I'm going to talk about next podcast.
Wow, Asya, I'm really looking forward to our next podcast. And I think the more we will elaborate these subjects, the clearer I think they will become, because really we're not discussing easy subjects. I mean, really, they need time to be grasped and to be explained and to be clarified. I hope you enjoyed our video and you found some benefits in it. I hope you can stay tuned with us. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Stay safe. Bye.